Hi, this is Jason Nickleby, Coordinator of Officials with the Minnesota State High School League, and this is football officiating training tape number 2. We had 8 plays for you last week, and we'll have another 8 this week, talking about mechanics and positioning, philosophy, and some rules. Again, appreciate our colleagues from Missouri and sharing these championship videos so that we can take training tape clips to help prepare officials for the season. Again, we're not picking on any one crew or official or team, just trying to look at these plays and learn from them and get better, and then really look at them as a crew. How would we handle these plays if they were to happen in our games? So, with that, we'll take a look at some plays. On this play, we have a toss sweep to the bottom of the screen. I want you to take a look at the lead block or one of the lead blocks at the point of attack. And we're going to have a block in the back called at roughly the B37. And I like how we handle this play mechanically and coverage wise. We allow the running play to proceed in front of us. We square off, throw the flag, continue to officiate. So we should do that. So I'm good with that. And then referees, we don't need a preliminary signal when it's an obvious penalty that will be taken. If the block in the back is called against the offense on a play like this on first down, they're clearly going to take it. So we don't need a preliminary signal, just your one announcement. And we really should be able to dispense of this a lot quicker since it's obvious that they will take it. But from a block in the back standpoint, let's take a look at the contact here. You'll notice that the contact is initiated in the shoulder, which is legal initial contact, and then he spins him around without losing contact and subsequently pushes him in the back. This is a legal play and this is not a foul. If we have a second overt act, so we make initial legal contact in the shoulder, disengage, and then make contact again in the back, in that case, we would have a block in the back. But in this case, does not lose contact with the player that's being blocked, spins him around, blocks him in the back. This is legal. When we're talking about blocking in the back philosophy and how we want that called, we're looking at chase mode and whether we are on the same yard line or not with the player that's being blocked. So if we are truly chasing the player being blocked, we are behind them, any contact in the back at the point of attack is going to be enough for a foul. If we are on the same yard line, not chasing them, so we end up at the same yard line, and that happens when both players are going at an angle. If we end up on the same yard line, then in that case, as long as we have any contact in the shoulder or front and we have one hand on the back, that's not going to be a foul for a block in the back. So to review, chase mode, any contact in the back is a foul. Not in chase mode, we need to have both hands or all of the contact to take place in the back. So this is not a foul. I like that we're looking there. I like our mechanics of covering the play, continuing to officiate, but we need to make sure that we see the action start, develop, and finish. The contact is initiated in the shoulder, he spins him around, and then completes the block in the back, and this is not enough for a foul. So just be really careful on these. Make sure we see the whole play, start, develop, and finish. If not, we have to keep the flag in our pocket. On this play, I want to talk about our pace of play as a crew, and this is very early in the game. You see we have a first down that is gained by the offense, and the play clock gets down to about 32 seconds, and we're already in position to snap. So first of all, when we have a first down play that stops and bounds like this one, umpires, you're controlling the pace. Don't put the ball down on the ground until at least 32 seconds is on the play clock, if not a little bit more. Between 28 and 32 seconds, put the ball on the ground, and then we would back up to our position. Any faster than that, and line of scrimmage officials, back judge, etc., are not going to be in position to officiate. And if we're not in position to officiate, we need to shut the play down, give them one warning, and then we're going to start assessing a delay of game and or unsportsmanlike conduct if we start going too fast before officials aren't in a position to officiate. So that's how we're going to handle that piece. But umpires, you control it. Don't put the ball on the ground until at least 8 seconds have elapsed from the play clock, if not more. Now on a long play, naturally it's going to be longer than that. But in this case, the ball is on the ground before 32 seconds and the offense is in position and ready to snap. And that's just going way too fast. And when we go way too fast, we make mistakes. As officials, the teams make mistakes, which we need to address. And so slowing it down, slowing down the pace is really going to help us as a crew. Now, I'm not talking about the last 2 minutes or so of the second and fourth quarter. I'm talking about right here, 11:36 to go in the first quarter. Absolutely no reason to go this fast. So the teams are going to go at our pace as officials and not go at the pace that they want to go. So let's slow it down, have a nice, consistent pace between 28 and 32 seconds on the play clock when we put the ball on the ground as umpires. And then referees, as far as starting the game clock is concerned, throughout the game, with exception of the end of the second and fourth quarter, we are going to start the game clock itself when the umpire has the football in their hands. Okay, now that doesn't mean that the ball's on the ground and is ready for play. That's when we're starting the game clock. Umpires, don't change your pace. So that means that the game clock and the play clock will be running simultaneously, but it won't be ready for play. So we need to get over the old way of doing it as it relates to pointing a first down, waiting for chains. We don't need to wait for the chains to start the game clock. So let's work on that, referees. As soon as the umpire gets the ball in their hands and we're going to start the clock on our signal, let's wind up the game clock. Umpires control the pace. The game clock and play clock should be running simultaneously as we have in this situation. And we'll find that we'll have less mistakes and less issues if we control the pace and have a consistent pace and way of handling the clock throughout the game. We have a punt play here, 4th and 20. We're in good initial position. Remember, our umpire's in the offensive backfield, but otherwise in good position. Referee, line of scrimmage, we probably want to be a yard off the line, give ourselves a little bit more depth. And then let's take a look at our back judge positioning. We'd like you about 6 to 10 yards at most wide of the deepest receiver. In this case, they have 2 receivers, so we want to be 6 to 8, 10 yards to the left of this receiver in this particular case. Of course, we're shading towards the chain side. And then you'll notice on this play the line judge position releases at the snap, which is correct, and the ball is recovered or downed by the kicking team in the 1/3 side of the line judge's field. So they would take the ball and the back judge would take the blocks. All the more reason we don't want to be quite as wide as this back judge is. So just to review, referee, good initial position, about 3-4 steps behind the kicker and about 6 to 8 yards wide. So good spot there. Line of scrimmage about a yard deep. Line judge release at the snap, and then back judges, we don't want you quite this wide, and then don't move up quite as fast. We can see the play just as well from back in our initial position, because invariably if we move up too fast, it goes over the returner's head, and we don't want to be caught out of position. On this one, I want to talk about intentional grounding again. We've talked about our rules experiment that we're using in Minnesota, and it's pretty much the same as the NCAA's rule language. So I want to talk about this example from that perspective so that we are aware of these kinds of scenarios as they play out. So in this case, the quarterback passer rolls out to the right, gets outside of the tackle box. And remember, the tackle box is defined as the neutral zone, 2 lines parallel to the sideline from each tackle all the way back to team A's end line. As long as they get outside of that defined area and then throw a pass that crosses the neutral zone or the neutral zone expanded, they don't have to get it to an area occupied by an eligible receiver to avoid an intentional grounding foul. So in this case, gets outside the tackle box, then comes back into the middle of the field in what used to be the tackle box. If he were to throw a pass here and get it beyond the line, not a foul, because once he gets outside that tackle box, it is disintegrated for the purpose of intentional grounding. From a coverage standpoint, the crew does a very nice job. I like how the line of scrimmage official stays home and is able to help when this play reverses field. If we go downfield too fast, we're not going to be in the best position to help on this play from a coverage perspective. So well done by the crew, in particular this line of scrimmage official at the bottom of the screen staying home so that he can help if the passer threatens the sideline, we have illegal contact, etc., and we can rule on whether the ball makes the line if this quarterback were to throw the ball. So just to review, if we get outside of that defined tackle box, it is disintegrated for the purpose of intentional grounding. That means we can throw a pass as long as we're the person who controlled the initial snap and we didn't hand it off or do a backwards pass to someone else. As long as we're that initial person, we can throw the ball beyond the neutral zone once we get outside that tackle box, even if we go back into the middle of the field like we do here, and not have a foul for intentional grounding. On this play, I want you to take a look at the linesman at the top of the screen, running play to his side, backs up into the offensive backfield, lets the play progress past him, then officiates from behind, continues to officiate the dead ball officiating, which is excellent, turns and faces the player out of bounds, waits for players to clear, and then turns around and faces the field of play. So this is all around excellent, holds the line, moves backwards, allows the running play to proceed, officiates the dead ball time well by officiating towards the team bench area, especially when we have players from the opposing team in the bench. And if we have to go get those players, then we should put a beanbag down and go get them. But overall, this is excellent mechanics. This is exactly what we want to do. Let the play progress in front of us. Officiate the bench area. Wait till they all clear and go out into the field of play, and then we can turn and face the field. So, and then worry about the down box and the chain. So this is excellent work by the linesman. On this play, we have 3rd and long, so back judges, let's think about our initial positioning. We should probably be a little bit deeper than 20 yards to start, and then we have a really long pass for a touchdown. You'll see the back judge is in perfect position to rule on ball crossing the plane of the goal line, and then the dead ball officiating is excellent. He closes on these players, make sure that we have no issues with them after the play, and remember, back judges or even line of scrimmage, when we have a touchdown, we're going to pretend like there is a video camera in our belt. We're going to turn and face players. Facing down the goal line doesn't help us. We need to turn and face players so that we can prevent issues, especially in a situation like this one. So this is well done, closes in, has a physical presence, and deals with any potential issues. So this is just excellent mechanics by the back judge. Really good position at the goal line to rule. Good cushion, so we're not right in the lap of the receiver. Good spacing. This is just really well done, a good example of what we want. And then line of scrimmage officials are holding tight at the line until the pass is imminent. Then we release, which is excellent. And our referee is in excellent initial position. So this is a really good example of what we want, initial positioning wise from the crew, and then excellent coverage by the crew, in particular by the back judge on this play, And this is just a good one to look at as far as our initial positioning and then our mechanics and coverage as the play progresses. Well done by the crew. Okay, 1st and 10 here. Not an obvious passing down, but that's ultimately what we have. We have some play action, and then the quarterback is looking for an open receiver. And you'll notice right about the A28 or so that one of the eligible receivers is grabbed and spun around in a circle prior to the release of the pass, and we end up not having a pass here. So we have defensive holding, and this is properly called. So first I want to talk about how we handle this play as a crew from a penalty enforcement and communication standpoint. This is an obvious penalty. They're going to take it. They're not going to decline and take a sack. So let's just dispense of this a lot quicker. We don't have a preliminary signal, so that's good, but we can dispense of this a lot quicker. But let's take a look at the replay here and our vision as line of scrimmage officials. So this outside receiver is not pressed. So we look inside. That's our key and our area of responsibility. And it's a two-step process when we're calling defensive holding. So we see the hold of an eligible receiver, then we look back to the quarterback, the passer, to see if they still have the football. If so, it would be defensive holding. If the ball's in the air, then we would have defensive pass interference. Now, if we have holding action like we have here, and we look back to the passer, and they're looking to the other side of the field, or they roll to the other side of the field, then we might pass on that. But in this particular case, the quarterback looks right at this receiver, right about the 26, 27 yard line, gets grabbed and restricted, turn in a circle. This is absolutely defensive holding. This is well done by the line of scrimmage official at the bottom of the screen to pick this up, as this is his key area of responsibility, and the quarterback can't throw it because of this hold. So this is well done. Now, when we have holding, whether it's offensive or defensive, make sure we can put it into a category. It has to have a material effect. It has to have restriction. It can't be just a slight shoulder grab or jersey grab. It has to be something that takes something away, takes a step away from the person being held. And in this particular case, you can see that his feet slow down when he is grabbed, restricted, turn in a circle. So this is a really solid call for defensive holding. Now let's talk about the enforcement. Because we don't end up having a pass on this particular play, it's a running play, it's a sack, we have to enforce it from the end of that run there, which I'm not crazy about that enforcement, but that is the high school rule, and that's how we need to enforce it. So if we were to fast forward to the subsequent play after this, you would see that we are enforcing this from where the sack took place, and we will repeat the down. So it's roughly 1st and 7 or so, because you'll see that he gets sacked at about the 13, and then we're going to move on to the 23, which puts us at 1st and 7 for the subsequent play. So this was properly enforced, properly covered, well covered by the crew, and just a couple things to keep in mind. Put holding into categories, and then make sure that it's a two-step process, looking for the restriction, then looking for the football. If so, we can put a flag on the ground for defensive holding, and then make sure that we enforce it properly as the crew does here. So well done by the crew, in particular by the line judge. All right, on this play we have a long pass right down the middle. You'll see the receiver at the top of the screen, or the inside receiver at the top of the screen, runs a post pattern towards the middle of the field and gets turned prior to the ball arriving, and the defensive player is properly called for defensive pass interference by the back judge. So this is well done by the back judge. We're in good position to view this play, good cushion, sees the defender hook and turn the receiver prior to the ball arriving, and calls pass interference, and then comes in and reports the infraction to the referee, who has a very nice announcement. You can't hear it, but well done on the presentation by the referee. And there's no preliminary. We just signal it, mark it off by the umpire, as you see here. So just really well done, very efficient by the crew. Let's talk about the foul itself and just putting it into categories for pass interference. So again, the receiver, the inside receiver at the top of the screen, runs kind of a post slant type pattern towards the middle of the field. The defender gets to him, hooks him right here prior to the ball arriving. This is defensive pass interference and is properly called. When, again, just like holding, we need to put pass interference into categories. So is it early contact, hook and turn like we have here, playing through the back, arm bar, defensive holding while the ball is in the air. If we can put it into those kinds of categories, then we should have a flag down or consider a flag for pass interference. We need to be able to put it into a category. And when we're talking about pass interference, if we see two sets of hands going for the football, it's likely that we don't have a foul, because that tells me that they're both trying to play the ball. When we're missing a hand, it's usually doing something that is illegal, or at least that's a red flag for it. So in this particular case, we have one hand playing the ball and the other hand is hooking the receiver on the waist and turning him prior to the ball arriving. So that's the category it's in, hook and turn. It's also early contact category as well, which would put it into a reason we would call defensive pass interference. And same for offensive pass interference. We need to put that in category as well. Push off, creating separation, those kinds of categories. And we'll talk about that in another tape. But in this particular case, defensive pass interference is properly called. We put it into a category, hook and turn, early contact. As a result, we have defensive pass interference, and just well done. Good spacing. You see the back judge has plenty of space, good cushion, allows this play to play out, and then properly reports. So well done by the crew, in particular the back judge on this play. Okay, that will do it for training tape number 2. Some things to think about as it relates to pass interference, defensive and offensive holding, our mechanics, our positioning, communication, and pulling all those things together to get these types of plays correct. And remember, when we call fouls at any level of football, but in high school football in particular, we want to make sure that they are really big, really obvious fouls at the point of attack that have an effect, a material restriction on the person that's being fouled before we put a flag on the ground, because yardage penalties in high school football really tough to come back from. So we want to make sure that that these are legit, solid fouls when we call them. Good luck to the Minnesota officials who are starting their season this week, and we will have another tape next week to discuss some more mechanics, positioning, and philosophy. Have a great weekend.